So Dean kind of introduced the night a little bit, but tonight we're going to start off our series about the journey, right? Which seems generic, but hopefully by the end of this, you will understand why we called it that. So last week, Dean kind of talked about his experience in Jamaica as a service trip, not a vacation destination, where he spent time in an infirmary with all these kind of, either they're physically disabled or mentally disabled, and they were kind of left there to kind of fend for themselves and live out the last of their lives. And he mentioned that from talking to them, they seem to have a lot of joy for that kind of depressing of a scenario or that depressing of a setting. And he said that what he took away from it was that they were so invested in this journey of faith that kind of superseded everything else. Nothing else really mattered, even though they kind of lost all their closest friends and family. You know, their plans for a career kind of shot. You know, their plans for making millions of dollars also shot. So why did they feel so much joy? And that was because they rooted this journey with God, right? So I think the first question that came to my mind when I was kind of writing this talk was, first of all, why now, right? From what I can tell, I have a pretty long life ahead of me. Why do I want to invest in my faith life now? It's something that's so challenging and so difficult. Like, why do I want to do it today, right? And then the next question is, how could I possibly even do it? Right? So the people that Dean said he encountered at this infirmary, like, they're probably a minority, I would say, right? When people get into that kind of state, it's really hard to see the light. And very few people do. And if you're lucky, you're one of those few. And you kind of look at the lives of the saints, the people that kind of went on this journey and had a fair amount of success. Like, how can I even measure up to that? Right? And I think this question was actually answered for us last semester. And I think that clip from The Lion King, that last semester didn't work quite well, so I had to like dramatically reenact it. It wasn't great, but you know, it did its job. I think that clip kind of encompasses why and how we should and could embark on this journey of faith, this very difficult, lifelong journey, right? It comes down to the fact that God created us in His own image, right? We are a spitting image of God, and God is, you know, great seems kind of underwhelming, but that's probably the closest I can get to. God is great, so we're destined for this greatness that we were created. We were created great, not just for greatness, right? And the most rewarding journey of all is the journey of us becoming who we're all created to be, right? And I think on a small scale, when you figure out what you want to do with the rest of your life as far as a career, like that's incredible. Most people never figure it out. I am pretty unsure about what I'm doing. I'm pretty near the end for the second time. So, right? So that's incredible. We know what we're meant to be, and this journey will get us there. And that is why and how we can get there, and why we should live out this journey. And this is a journey that lasts a lifetime, right? It requires constant rededication, just like anything else. So I guess there are a few traps that go along with this grand idea of a journey, right? The first one is we tend to make really lofty goals, right? Goals that aren't really tangible. And I do this all the time, and I'm sure a lot of people do this too. Like New Year's resolutions, like you're just like, well, I'm going to be healthier this year. Well, congratulations, because that can manifest itself in many different ways, right? Or we tend to not consistently recommit ourselves. Right? So we say one day that we want to do something or we want to become something, and then we're like, you know, maybe tomorrow I'll get back on track. Today's my day off, or whatever it may be. Lent is kind of a prime example. Sunday's my day off. I'll not eat meat 6 days, or I'll give up whatever I'm giving up for 6 days. Well, congratulations, that's fine. But we have to keep constantly rededicating ourselves. And like I mentioned, New Year's resolutions, I think that's the number one way we fail, is that we don't constantly, every day, push towards that goal, or that goal is just not very tangible, and so it's relative. So 365 days later, it's like, well, I guess I was healthier, or I guess I read more, you know, who knows. Right, so what does our end goal look like? Right, I think the best way to appropriately approach this journey is to find out where we're going. So our current tendency, and I know I'm very, very guilty of this, is we compartmentalize our lives. We kind of break everything up into separate individual journeys, right? This is my career journey. I'm going to do all the things necessary to give myself success. this is my romantic journey, I don't want to go there, but this is our romantic journey. This is my faith journey, So we embark on all sorts of journeys that, are great in some way, but at the end of the day, if we all approach these journeys with the same amount of weight and the same amount of effort, eventually certain journeys will eclipse other ones, right? And if we're lucky, that'll be our faith journey, right? And for me and for a lot of people that I know, your faith journey is kind of the first to go. If I'm faced with a test and, mass, or faced with a test and something I'm volunteering for here, chances are here will go to the wayside and my test will take precedent. So, lost my train of thought. Okay, there we go. Okay, so in order to combat this, I think what we're all called to do is to live a life that fully encompasses God. Let God kind of take over our lives and seep into all these journeys. Because eventually we'll realize that we're on one single journey, right? Our journey of faith, the thing that lasts our whole lifetime, right? And so have God guide every other journey. These other journeys are just kind of things that come along the way that help us towards our end goal, being united with God, becoming great, becoming faithful people. And this kind of, once I looked at it this way, these people that Dean talked about in Jamaica made a lot more sense, right? They realized that the journey is still going on. They're still on the journey. It doesn't matter that they're kind of left here with really no one there for them, really no career. It doesn't matter because that wasn't their journey. That was just something that they did to help them grow closer to God, right? And no one can take that away from us. So, and I think that, just to put into perspective though, I think the tough times that these people have faced, or even the good times, those aren't even the low points of our faith lives. I think, and it definitely isn't for me. I think the points that are the lowest in my faith life that I kind of seem to be getting nowhere is when things are kind of just neutral, like vanilla times, just times that nothing's really happening, we're not really going anywhere, we're just kind of stagnant, and you're just kind of complacent because you never feel bad about it. You never feel like, oh man, I haven't done enough in my faith life. You're just kind of there, right? So on any journey, I guess there's a fair amount of planning that should go into it. Even like trips and things like that. Which, to be honest, I'm the worst at planning. If you even met me for a little bit, I see people laughing because they know how bad I am at planning. It's amazing that I wrote this out and am reading it to you. Usually when I give talks to the little children of Edge, I kind of write two things, and it's usually like Jesus and love. And then I'm just like, oh yeah, so, okay, moving on. So, but yes, I did actually write this out. So I guess this kind of brings me into a short story, I guess. And if you guys have ever met me or have ever talked to me, you guys know that I'm chock full of stories. So if you want to hear more stories, stop me afterwards. But the one I'm going to tell is one of my good friends, Jonathan. And you hear the chuckles because some of these people know Jonathan. So there was, once upon a time, 2 years ago, over spring break, I spent my spring break here. I don't know why. I'm from Texas, so I just didn't want to go all the way home, pay for a ticket, come all the way back. So I stayed here over the break, and Jonathan went home to Cape Girardeau, where he's from. And so I was like, it's Saturday, and I'm already bored. So I'm like, I'll call Jonathan, see what he's up to. So I called Jonathan, and I'm like, Jonathan, what are you doing this weekend? He's like, I don't know, I'm just going to stay home. So I was like, Jonathan, I'm getting in the car, and I'm going to come visit you. So I was just like, why not? Packed a bag, left to see Jonathan. Well, I got to St. Louis, and of course, this apparently wasn't enough. I was like, man, that would be super boring. So I called him again, and I was like, Jonathan, pack a bag, we're going to Memphis. And of course, he was like, oh, no, we're not going to Memphis. And so I hung up. On him. Didn't give him a chance to object. So I get there, and Jonathan is probably the nicest guy ever. He's very passive. And so, even though he, did not want to go, he packed a bag anyways. Because maybe it's something serious. Maybe we really need to go to Memphis. So, I get there, ring the doorbell. I was like, did you pack a bag? He's like, yes, but I really don't want to go. I was like, too late, you packed a bag. So I grabbed the stuff, threw it in the car, we drove to Memphis. So we get to Memphis, didn't have plans for a hotel, didn't really have plans to do anything. I was like, what is even in Memphis, really? So we hung out there for the week. It was fine. We just kind of did whatever. And then on the way back, of course, I was like, this is not nearly enough fun. So 30 minutes from his house, he thinks he's home free. And I'm like, Jonathan, I think it's Cardinals opening day. And this is the year the Cardinals won the World Series. The year of, the year of, against my Texas Rangers. So I feel like I get credit for that. So we get 30 minutes away from his house, and I'm like, Jonathan, I think it's Cardinals opening day. And so I was like, look it up on your phone. He's like, why? And I was like, just do it. So he looks it up. Yes, it was Cardinals opening day. So I was like, we're going to St. Louis. We're buying tickets from scalpers. We're going to the game. And so we did that. He reluctantly sat through a baseball game. He doesn't love sports. And I would almost say he hated sports, but that's fine. And so after that, drove him home, and then I drove all the way back to Columbia. So that was my spring break 2-ish years ago, right? So I guess looking back on this is just really a funny story, which it was kind of funny at the time. But I think at the end of the day, we didn't really have a plan. We just kind of wung it, or I kind of wung it, and Jonathan just kind of came with reluctantly. And the thing that I got out of it was that A, I spent way too much money on an unplanned trip. B, it was fun. I thought it was fun/funny, so it was more of like for my amusement than anything. But it wasn't the most fruitful trip. There were points during the trip where we just kind of drove around. We're like, oh, do you want to go here? And either it was like too expensive or it seemed boring, so we just kind of drove around. So this is on a small scale. This is a short 1 week quote unquote journey, right? And it was just not very productive, and it was okay. I guess I got a story out of it. But other than that, there are plenty of things I look back on and I'm like, maybe we should check that out. Granted, we did go see Justin Timberlake in Memphis, and all those doubts were put to bed, so we got to experience Memphis the right way. Jonathan didn't. He didn't want to come. So just tying it in with the story, you can set out on this journey blindly, and every now and then you'll come across something that's really rewarding, but a lot of times it doesn't seem like we're getting the most out of our efforts. And this can lead us to a few different problems, right? You'll be on this journey, things are going okay, and you'll realize it's a lot longer and a lot harder than you thought. And this leads us to a couple things, right? And Tommy will expand on this next week, but the first thing is it'll get pretty discouraging, right? That feeling of dryness or a lack of satisfaction from your faith life. Like you're like, I feel like I'm just going through the motions, and I do that all the time. I feel like, again, okay, cool. And that's a problem, right? And you kind of look for anything to distract you, anything at all, anything to just kind of be like, just get me out of this kind of monotony, right? When we were driving around Memphis, like half the time, Jonathan was like, let's just go back to the hotel. And I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Or he'll be like, let's just go home. We're definitely not doing that. So that's what happens. It's just anything to get us out of, this journey that we're on, because it doesn't seem fulfilling, right? And so this seems great. If you're kind of planning for a journey, getting ready to go on a journey, it's awesome. But most of us aren't at that position. Most of us are kind of in the middle of our journey somewhere. Granted, we're all here, so at the very least, we're curious about this journey. And so how do we do that? How do we plan when we're in the heat of things, right in the middle? And I think that the best way to do this is through self-reflection, right? Realizing where you are and kind of continuing from there. And another thing I'm bad at is self-reflection. I'm a lot of things, but I don't like to acknowledge when I'm wrong. If you've ever been in an argument with me, I could be the most wrong you could ever imagine, and I will come out on top because I do not like being wrong, right? And I also don't like acknowledging my shortcomings. It's not something I do well. I'm not the most humble person. Let's throw that out there. So that's just not me. I struggle with that so much. And I think that's kind of made my faith life very stale, right? When things come up where I'm like, maybe I should fix this. I'm like, you know what? No, I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. I'll maneuver around this one fault of mine. I don't have many faults. I care too much. That's one of them. But not much else to mention. But yeah, so that kind of self-denial of thinking that you need help, or you're struggling, you're actually way off the path when you think you're on it, right? So what now, right? We're not really left to our own devices, which is the good news, I guess, because granted, we'll probably all over the place and nowhere near our final destination, which sounds very morbid, but yeah. So in the book of John, chapter 16, verse 6, Jesus says, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." Right? So that pretty much sums up our journey, right? We have to go through Christ, right? So no matter how much planning I tell you can do, without Christ it's impossible. I'm pretty sure those people, stupid Asian ears, I'm pretty sure those people that Dean encountered in Jamaica did not plan to be in an infirmary just kind of hanging out there. That wasn't a thing. Right? But through Christ, our planning, that's where our planning matters. That's where we're able to kind of roll with the punches, with God's grace and with Christ as our plan. And so, that's great. By saying Jesus Christ, it seems kind of arbitrary. It's like, okay, cool. But the church actually offers a lot of ways we can encounter Christ. And actually, they offer it through the example of Jesus, right? The first is the sacraments. And I think the best way the sacraments were explained to me was that it's God's way of being there with you through every moment of your life, right? From the moment that you're born, you're baptized, and up to the second that you die, you can be anointed, right? When you profess your love to your significant other, that you're going to spend the rest of your life with them, God is there. When you step into adulthood, God is there, and the sacraments are God's way of saying, here I am, let's hang out, I'm here to party with you, kind of a thing. Not verbatim, but you know what I mean. So yeah, the sacraments, right? And then through the Mass, right? We all believe, as Catholics, that the Eucharist is the body and blood of Christ. That's the most comforting thing you can realize, is that it's real, it matters. This is what I'm working towards. I want to be unified with Jesus Christ, which I get to just get a glimpse of and receive at the Mass. And then finally, it's the other people on the journey, right? These people are Christ to us. Everyone here is Christ to each other. We're meant to be Christ to each other. That love that Jesus showed on the cross, we're supposed to be some sort of a reflection of that to the people that we're around. And these tools sound great, and I'm not going to lie to you, it's not going to be easy. But like I kind of laid out before, with some sort of a plan, a realistic goal, utilizing the tools that Jesus Christ left for us, and self-reflection, I think it'll become a lot easier than just kind of blindly, randomly, going about it ourselves. So that's the end of my part of the evening. Emily will come up here and kind of explain what we're doing next.